Yeah.
Looks good.
All right, cool. So I'm Oliver, and like it was introduced, the name of my game is Swords at Dusk. It is a social deduction game for I'd say 4 to 8 players at this point. Playtest. You never know if that'll change, but you get the idea. The uh, the story behind this game is that you are all a bunch of high-class, rich socialites in a remote manor, and you're all trapped there with someone who's trying to kill you all. It's up to you all, the socialites, to figure out who the killer is before they kill everyone in the manor. Unfortunately, in polite society, nobody really agrees with one another. Everyone's rich and kind of up their own ass. So the only way they can really deal with disagreements is by dueling each other. So think I don't think I'm gonna be able to get through all the rules in the time I have. So I'm just going to do a quick overview and then show you the thing that I've been working on that I really want to see tested and kind of the challenges I foresee testing. So real quick, it's just like Werewolf in a sense that everyone has a secret role. The only two you really need to know at the moment are the socialites and the killers. The socialites are your average, like, innocent, they don't know anything, they don't do anything special people, while the killer, on the other hand, is the one slowly killing everyone. Unlike Werewolf, this game, you don't die right away if the killer chooses you to die. What the killer does is deal out these little wounds. If you get 4 of these, you're dead. So, just to kind of summarize what happens during a round of play, everyone closes their eyes. The killer opens their eyes. They deal 2 wounds to 2 different guests, like so. Apologies, I went a bit ahead of myself. There's also, like Werewolf, there's a moderator for this game, someone who's kind of tracking the game state. So the moderator will then say, okay, everyone open your eyes, we'll see who got wounded, and then we get to the part where I want to test things out. So, the biggest thing that I've had a problem with running this game is kind of the way conversations go, because there's not much to talk about and not a lot of knowledge on the board, and with social deduction games, that's kind of the point. But how do you make having a lack of knowledge fun? Or at least how to make that conversation interesting? One thing that I introduced in this version of the game is a currency. These little sugar cube things, they represent influence. Basically, rich people have all the money in the world, so what's the thing that they respect the most? Well, each other, hopefully. So you want to get the most influence as possible, because if you have the most influence and the killer dies, you're the one who actually wins the game. It's cooperation / competitive. But then I came into the problem of like, okay, well, everyone has this influence that they need to move around. How am I gonna move around this influence? So, and also make a conversation like interesting or at least challenging to do for your average social deduction game. So this is why I'm going to introduce this one, and then I'll see if I can get to the privilege. But so I introduced the etiquette deck. The etiquette deck is currently 34 cards that have different rules on how to compose yourself as someone in polite society. So if you've ever played like the game Kings, like the drinking game, like there's often rules based on just cards you draw. So I decided to take a cue off of that to kind of give a way to for people to move these little things around. So basically, etiquette. All right. So if you just tilt your head 90 degrees, you can read the etiquette card. Wait, I could change that real quick. 1 second. Okay, I can't change it. Anyway, so basically, etiquette cards basically have either a rule or a ban on what you can talk about or how you can talk about it. So right now I have like very simple rules. Like whenever someone talks, they must point at another player, whether or not that player is involved or anything like that. They have to point, because if they don't, and the person who's running the game sees them do that, they have to put an influence. They basically pay an influence as a penalty. And there's cards in here that, so like, oh, this one is very simple. Guests cannot talk over other guests. So it's like, you're just being polite. Some of them are more mechanical, which I'm a little concerned about, but in the sense that people don't really want to track a game and also have a conversation at the same time. So I'd be really interested in seeing what happens in that. And like, so I've made 32 of these cards, and I made them pre-quarantine-ish, which also kind of introduces another challenge I have. Would this work in a digital playtest? Because some of these cards are like, you have to have both hands on the table at all times, or like other things that you can't, that are meant to be enforced physically rather than like over the internet. So I just want to see both how these cards work in a digital playtest space, but I also want to see if they just work at all. That's kind of like my main focus for this evening, if people are interested. I also would just like to say, I used to have this prototype on a service called Tabletopia that everyone can access, but it's not great. So unfortunately, if you'd like to playtest this game, you would need to have Tabletop Simulator, which I'm pretty sure most of us have, but if you don't, I apologize. Yeah. So I can explain more of the rules if you want to help playtest, but basically trying to make a social deduction game conversation more fun by enforcing rules and also having those rules matter in the game. That's the thing that I want to test, and that's the problem that I want to solve.